Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full-on, your Fulham-centric football podcast. I'm your host, Ash Woolford. Joining me today for our SW6 preview is the OGs. AJ, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, good sir. I'm doing well. Excited for this one.
Yeah, it should be good. Drew, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, my friend. Good to see you all.
Good to see you too, mate. Mozza, how you doing, mate?
I love being referred to as the OGs. Yeah, I'm handsome as ever, thank you very much. And I'm up for it this Saturday.
There you go. There you go. We're obviously here to talk about the SW6 Derby at the Swamp on Saturday. Let's get sort of stuck into it. AJ, we've had a few discussions over the last couple of weeks about squads and what we've seen. We saw a lot of rotation in the team against Bristol City in the week in the Cup, which wasn't that surprising. Some players getting some minutes in who will probably be involved on Saturday as well. What are you expecting to see squad wise? Considering this Chelsea team are quite potent, so we need to be quite prepared for that.
I think we're probably going to go back to what we expect. The Leno, Tete, Anderson, Bassi, Robinson back five with just your typical Sasha Lukic, Bergay, and then either one of King or ESR. And then hopefully Wilson and Cess out wide, but I struggle to see him dropping a Wobie, to be honest, despite our appeals for him to do so. To be honest, I wouldn't mind a Wobie playing so much if he was actually put into the 8 as opposed to staying out on that left wing, but I think Robinson coming back will make a lot of difference on our left wing and a lot of improvement. And then I think Muniz starts.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, especially we don't know about Harry Wilson's actually going to be available to play. He went off injured in the game on Wednesday night. It doesn't look too serious, but it's one of those ones with Harry that he gets these injuries like 4 or 5 times a year where he's out for a week because and it's mainly down to the style. He's sort of he's go hung style of play, and he sort of goes for things and he throws himself about a bit. So it's not really too shocking to see it. But hopefully, he will be okay and back for the game on Saturday, because if there's going to be anyone who's going to help cut Chelsea apart in any moment, it's going to be him. And I think you're right with probably seeing the strike force we're going to see, because I think it's going to be a tough game. But we have to be sort of careful how we go for it. Drew, this Chelsea team have bought more players than Fulham have owned ever in the last sort of 6 months. They're definitely a different Chelsea than what we played last year at Stamford Bridge on Boxing Day. We know that they have no Cole Palmer, but they've got a lot of young, explosive players. They're going to sort of bring the game to us on Saturday. What do we do in order to make sure that we can play our football and come away with a result?
Well, we're not as bad as West Ham, first off, despite our inactivity in the transfer window. I mean, that may be damning us with faint praise, because it's probably going to be difficult to find a competitive Premier League team that is as bad as West Ham. I think we're going to have to accept the fact that we're not going to have as much of the ball as we did against Manchester United. Chelsea are going to be at home, so the impetus is going to be upon them to attack us. You're right, they're a different breed. They haven't been put under any sort of pressure defensively, and Tosin may well be starting for them. And irrespective of what Chelsea fans think, he's always got a howler in him. Robinson being back for us is going to be massively important, because Silva is, as we've discussed many times, plays favourites and is a creature of habit. So I'll be stunned if Iwobi's not out on the left, where he, without Robinson, in my view, is extremely limited, because Robinson does a lot of the running for him. And Alex, as AJ has already said, is probably better off these days, more central. I mean, what do we do? I think we've just got to keep our shape, keep discipline, Pedro is going to be a problem, as he proved last season. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult. I mean, if we could do another smash and grab, that would be fantastic. But yeah, it's going to be. We're just going to have to stick to our tasks because we can't let Chelsea run off us, because they have, well, as they've seen, they've got lots of goals in them. So I mean, to be fair to us, we've given them reasonably good games when we've been back in the Premiership recently. But yeah, this is going to be. I think this is going to be a case of having a situation where we're going to have to expect not to have the ball much. So it's going to be about shape and discipline for me. After that, we just hope we can do something when we do have the ball, because inevitably, as with all games, at some point we will get chances, because that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, look, we have to do something which we can't do sometimes, and that's be clinical. You know, Mozza, we spoke about this loads over the last year and a half doing this podcast, right? That it would be nice if we could have brought some players in during this transfer window that are going to be a bit more direct than some of our players have the ability to be. You know, we spoke about it in the Bristol review about it'd be nice if we have some players that be more willing to take pop shots when they become up, but we don't do that a lot. We're going to have to be really clinical on Saturday. We're going to have to be a bit more brave going forward than we are sometimes. You know, especially when it comes to letting players have that pop shot that when it comes available. Do you see us being able to do that? Do you see us being able to, if for me, we spoke about if Harry Wilson's playing, he's the one who usually has the freedom to take a shot on. But if he's not, what are we going to do in terms of, we're just going to do the same thing over and over like we always do, put the ball out wide and hope that someone's in the box? Or are we going to have to be a bit more caution to the wind and just attempt to put bodies in the box at times?
Sadly, I think it will be that, what you've just said. I don't see us changing our style of play as it has been in the first two games of this season, much as it was a lot of last season. I think we're just going to let them press for as long as possible. I don't know if that is the tactic to tire them out and counter attack even. I'm interested in what will be the lineup. I think AJ's probably got it bang on there. However, if Cess starts, sorry, I can't remember if you predicted that, AJ, but I think if Cess starts and he's not in defence, that is going to be a massive difference, as it always is whenever he's not in a defensive position. I wonder about Muniz starting. I think he will start. However, from what I've seen from Real, who I was just singing his praises for in our Bristol review, and when he came on against United, he is. I don't want to call him the impact player, but maybe he is better as an impact player. I don't know which side of the fence I sit on here, but I think he is better starting. He's the kind of striker that is everywhere. And we've said that before. Maybe he runs a bit too much everywhere. But if we want to go in guns blazing, if we want to go in offensively as opposed to defensively, which I doubt will happen, I would love to have him start over Muniz. How sweet would it be if Muniz scores and gets a winning goal, though? Again, like last time. I don't really care who our goal scorers are if we win, but that would just be the cherry on the cake, wouldn't it? Yeah, I've got a feeling we're going to sit back. I think our defence is going to be a problem. I can just see it. It's almost like I've had a dream where the ball gets back past to Leno. Leno gives it to Bassi, and then they fuck about with it at the back in the box. Pedro gets hold of it and just knocks it in. Yeah, I'm really optimistic about the game. Other than that, I want to see Josh King starting, and I want Rail to start and Cess, and I think those will be the the big catalytic changes if we are to go on and get a point out of this game.
Yeah, I think that AJ, one of the things that I think about Chelsea is they're a lot like Man United in the sense that they've improved a lot going forward, right? They're really great going forward. You look at that front six, and you have to respect the not only the players that they have who start those games, but the players they could bring in to come and sort of chop and change, and they have endless possibilities who they could be there. But I still think they're gettable defensively. I
Yeah,
don't think they're the strongest defensively. Do you agree with that? Like, do you agree that if we can get the ball at them, we can score?
any team that hires Tosin Adarabioyo is weak defensively. Um, it's a bit of an iffy one. Chelsea on their day can be very resound and know how to hold on to the ball and to stop people from attacking. But it's also not in their nature. They want to play free flowing football. They want to look creative. They want to be direct. And what that means is that very often they find themselves losing the ball in silly situations where they'll have a central midfielder try and beat a man before playing a pass instead of playing a safe pass back to the centre back. So there is definitely opportunity for us. It's just how willing to press on these opportunities and how cutthroat we can be in attacking, because we will be in a situation like that where we win a ball off of the last midfielder and we're 2-on-2 with the defenders, and we'll turn back around and play the pass back to our own centre backs and then have Anderson try and do a diagonal, and at which point the Chelsea defenders are all back in position. It's just the way we naturally play, and unfortunately we don't, other than King, we don't really have anyone that turns on a sixpence and drives towards the defence. So as much as I think there is opportunity, as you said, in Chelsea's weak defence, is whether or not we have the offensive facilities to do that. And I just don't think we do in this case. And even then, if we were, by some miracle, which won't happen, manage to sign anyone before the game that was eligible to play, the most direct player we've been linked with is Kevin, who's now pulled up injured. So it's kind of catch-22, even when you haven't even joined Fulham yet.
Yeah, it's a frustrating one in certain aspects. I think, Drew. Let's look at Josh King. I think Josh King is going to be our unknown in this game, right? The one that Chelsea are probably going to know the least about. They're going to expect the least from. What does Marco? I fully suspect him playing on Saturday, right? If you're Marco, what do you say to him? Do you just say fill your boots, do what you got to do, or do you say to him just try stay compact and play for the team, or do you say like, or is it one of those ones where you go to him that this is a big opportunity to show what you can do on a big stage? Just go out and do your thing.
I can't see Marco telling anyone just to go out there and improvise, because he's got such a rigid system. He likes to play a certain way, and the academy play in the same style. So I don't think it will be that. I think that, King will know it's an opportunity. He's playing at Stamford Bridge against one of the title favourites, and it's going to be live on Sky Sports. So he knows he's going to be effectively, for want of a better phrase, in the shop window. I think that it was quite interesting against Manchester United because the substitutes made a real difference. As game as Muniz was when he was on, it was the intelligence of Raul that created our goal. It was the timing of Smith Rowe arriving into the box that scored it. King did have one good opportunity in the first half when he got through, but their keeper made a good save. He is a special talent, but I think that we have to be realistic. To expect him to go out there and take the game by the scruff of the neck, I'd love to see it. But I think he's going to be very much playing in the system that Silva wants him to play in. I do wonder, and this is a bit left field, I do wonder if there's room to play Smith Rowe in the Iwobi role on the left, drifting in. alternating with King. It would be interesting to see if they do that, but I don't think they will, because Iwobi's a Silva favourite. We know Silva's a creature of habit. We know Silva plays favourites, and he will probably value Iwobi for his defensive acumen. But going back to your point about King, I think that if Silva picks him, and I fully expect him to, that will be enough for King to know that Silva trusts him, because it is a huge game against our local rivals. But I expect him to be doing the job that he's been asked to do. The fact that he has got the ability to take people on, to turn on a sixpence, to pick a pass, is all great. What concerns me is whether we're going to have enough options going forward to be able to utilize that skill, because we are going to need to get people ahead of him, have runners into the box, which is something that we don't often do enough of. But no, I don't think, short answer, I don't think King's going to be allowed to free will. I think he'll work within the system. But yeah, he's definitely got the ability to cause Chelsea problems. And as for the point about Chelsea not knowing much about him, I think that might have been true if we were talking about 25 years ago. But these clubs now have got such extensive scouting networks. You can be sure Chelsea have scouted every England international at every level before they make their first team debuts. So I am fully expecting Chelsea to know exactly who Josh King is.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. Look, lads, let's end this one how we always end them. Couple of players to watch from both teams and a scoreline prediction from everyone, please. Mozza, I'm going to start with you on this one, please, mate. Can I have a player to watch from both teams and a scoreline prediction?
Yes, of course. I want to say Emil Smith-Rowe. I don't think he will start for us. If he doesn't start, for me, it's going to be whoever's in the up front position. You asked for one, I'm going to give you three. So whoever's playing main striker and also Josh King. So yeah, take your pick. But gun to my head, if I have to pick one, it'll be Emil Smith-Rowe, whether he starts or not, especially if he does get drifted into that left wing position, as Drew just mentioned. I think that's a wonderful idea. As for Chelsea, it's got to be Pedro Cucurella as well, because he's a bit of like, the Fernandes, as Fernandes is of Man United to us. While I'm at it, how brilliant was that miss by Fernandes on Sunday? Oh, I'm still reliving it in my head. Yeah. Sorry, I drifted away there because I hate him. But I am gonna go for a Desmond. What does that mean, lads? I'm going to be positive 2-2.
Okay, cool. It's nice to see. AJ, how about yourself, mate? Player to watch from both teams, the scoreline prediction.
I think Anthony Robinson's going to be a big one, coming back probably for his first start since his injury, and having to deal with the likes of Pedro and Cole Palmer are going to be very difficult potentially for him while getting back into fitness, and his commitments going forward could mean that he's left that position occasionally and will require burning himself out. So I think he's definitely one to watch, especially if he gets the nod. For Chelsea, I'm going to go with Drew's favourite boy in Liam Delap. I think this is a sort of fixture that he probably gets started for, because we will be seen as lower opposition by Chelsea, and it will give Liam Delap the opportunity to go headstrong against us, and he's done quite well against us in the past, so I suspect to see him and to be worried about him. Score-wise, I'm going to go 1-1 personally. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in it. I think both teams are going to be a little bit reserved, and it's going to end up with a silly goal at both ends.
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. Drew, how about yourself, mate? Player to watch for both teams and the scoreline prediction, please.
I think AJ's right about the importance of Robinson for Fulham. I think he gives us so much, especially with Iwobi's inability to go on the outside. So his return is going to be huge. I think that our two midfielders, our pivot of Berge and Lukic, are going to be massive as always. But I think AJ's also right. Up front, I think is going to be might be the difference because Chelsea have got more firepower than us. AJ's quite right about the lap. He does well against us, and he's a good player. He hasn't scored for them yet in the league, so you know what's going to happen. Neto causes problems last year, and Pedro seems to have hit the ground running. So I think between the three of them, you're going to get a difference maker. In terms of score prediction, I don't unfortunately see us winning, and I'm a little bit more pessimistic. I think it might be 2-1 Chelsea. I mean, having said that, I expected us to get hammered by Man United, so what the hell do I know? And I didn't think we were going to get anything at Brighton, so you boys could be right, and I just might be selling us short. But I think it's going to be about 2-1. What concerns me, Ash, is where our goals are going to come from. I just don't see us being able to live with Chelsea if it turns into a shootout. I really don't. But yeah, I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be 2-1 Chelsea.
I think that's a fair shout. I think for me, when you start look at that Chelsea squad, it's envious. Any team that spends £2.5 billion on players in 2 years you're going to envy them. It is what it is. They've got a lot of really good like difference makers in games, but those difference makers are all in the front third of the pitch, not in the back third. So for me, you're all right. I think when you look at Pedro, you look at Neto, he's often dangerous. When he's not rolling on the floor like he's been shot after being touched on the arm. He's very dangerous. I'm probably under the impression that this could be a big game for Liam Delap too. I imagine this will be the game that he'll play. And we know how dangerous he is. We all know how much we all admired him before we became a Chelsea player. It is what it is with him. For me, I don't want to sound boring because I say it every time we play against a big team, but this is going to be a big game for Leno. If we're going to get anything out of this game, he's going to have one of those games where he's really on it. And we know that occasionally he has those games where he's not. But if we're going to get anything out of this game, he's probably going to have to be as good as he was last year at Stamford Bridge when he made 3 or 4 really important saves to keep us in the game after we'd gone 1-0 down. And it's probably going to be the same this year. If we're going to get anything, he's going to have to be good and really, really on it. So he'd be my pick for Fulham. Scoreline prediction, I want to be optimistic and say we can get a draw out of the game. But I am worried about where goals are coming from in this particular fixture. I'm worried about the way that we play going forward in this fixture at the moment. I'm going to say 1-1 as well. I don't want to lose. Obviously, naturally, that would be worse than anything. I also don't really want to start a Premier League season with 3-1 draws. But it is what it is. If we come out of this and say that we can at least stay unbeaten going out, I think we'd all be happy. So we'll have to sort of take it at that and hope that we don't come at an end of what could be a hiding if Chelsea are on, because when they are on, they're good, and it annoys and frustrates me to say it, but any team that spends the amount of money they have done should be good. And we spent £500,000. They probably spent more than that on lawyers' fees, just stamping things in the summer and the players they've signed. So. It is what it is. Lads, thanks very much for joining me for this one. Hopefully, the Whites can give us all a good weekend and not ruin it early. At least be competitive. That's all we ask, not shame ourselves. Other than that, have a good weekend. We'll be back early next week with a review of this game. Hopefully, it'll be a good one. Nothing more to say, really, other than come on, you Whites.